What is up, everyone? Today we are talking about a movie that came out a few years before we were born, about a rebel who had no reason. Rebel Without a Cause, a movie that was released in 1955 and was the career and life-defining movie of the iconic James Dean. This is SOS Cinema. I'm Andrew Seelig.
I'm Nicholas Visconti.
I'm Stephen Dwyer.
So what do you guys think of the movie?
Phenomenal.
I'm a big fan.
It's a classic.
Timeless.
You could say iconic.
Could say iconic even.
I think I already said that.
Well, I liked it when Steve said it better. It rolled off his tongue in a better way than yours.
Okay.
But yeah, we're going to just jump right in here. We'll start with that opening scene. I thought the opening scene was so wild when he's drunk on the sidewalk and he's just like, he's lying down next to the monkey that's clapping his like little hands with the cymbals. Because like, I thought I'd seen this movie before. I rewatched it. Turns out I haven't seen the movie.
Really?
And when that happened, I was like, this is going to be like a happy, funny movie.
Steve, you gotta.
All right, send it. Dang, that was
All right, we had a little cut right there. Steve just took a little piss, and now we're back right now. So let's go.
cool. Yeah, so I guess I'll go back to my point with the little monkey and the cymbals. I think that was just kind of funny. I kind of thought they were trying to make the illusion that the cymbal and the monkey is like someone's head when they're drunk. And I thought it was funny that he lied down on the pavement next to him, put the foil blanket over him, or the, what was it? Was it a...
Might have just been a regular blanket.
Newspaper.
A newspaper, yeah, that's what it was.
Tucked
It was a
in.
newspaper. Blanket. Steve's on the ground currently now, too. This is pretty wild to look at.
Yeah, I placed my mic down there and I didn't feel like picking it up.
Also,
Okay.
maybe like the symbol, like representing like how he's like kind of crazy in the mind, because he's a young, youthful
Right.
kid, always in trouble, just kind of like out of line.
And
To
so
quote Billy,
he was
from
supposed to
Animals Fire.
he was supposed to be 17, right?
Yeah, I think they mentioned that real quick.
So I just wanted to just quick note, not like that big of a deal, but I think it's just hysterical that he totally does not look 17 whatsoever in the movie. So I thought that was pretty funny.
How old was James Dean? Do you guys
24 when the movie was released, and
He looks about 24.
I don't want to. I think it's the perfect time to get into. It's kind of like early, but so he was 24 when the movie was released, but the movie was actually released a month after he passed away in an automobile accident.
No way.
Yeah,
When did he die?
know? Wow.
1955, the same year.
Oh, same year?
He died a month before it was released.
Hold up. I'm sorry. I might just be like super ignorant here. James Dean died when he was 24.
That's why he's so famous, I think.
Oh, was he? Because he's one of those people that like
Yeah.
had like such a good start, but obviously just like
never reached
you know what?
potential, was on the up, so like we never
Kinda
got to
like-
see the potential of him.
kind of like Juice World a little bit,
It's a
and how
shame.
Juice
people
WRLD.
kind of like praise him,
Yeah.
the rapper.
Sure,
You know?
Juice WRLD is only 21.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
Is he a part of that
People
like
die
21
young.
club that
Nah,
you know
he's
what I'm talking
24.
about?
27 club you're
That's
thinking
the
of.
Oh, 27
27
club. Yeah.
Didn't
Low-key-
even make it to 27.
So you have to make it 27 to be in that club.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
you gotta
Alright.
die
That's
when
why
you're
it's the 27
27.
club.
Not a recommended club to join.
also kind of random, but kind of like how James Dean is like very famous because he died young. I feel like this movie was only really famous because he died at a young age.
I mean, I didn't know that. I genuinely thought it was pretty
Yeah.
good. I liked it a lot.
No, it's a good movie, but I feel like it's iconic, and also
Or gets
kind
the
of
praise, yeah.
kind of the same way that like JFK is iconic because he was like the young president, kind of like flashy guy, and then just died at a young age. So we never got to see his full potential. Died in his first term. So I'm just gonna say some similarities between those two.
Yeah.
And, let's get more into the movie though. But that's an interesting fact.
So I also thought, so if we're going to hop back into the movie again. So the jail scene, first of all, I thought was hysterical when he's like making the siren noises and he's just like super loud, obnoxious. But something that really stood out to me in the jail scene is when he first walks in and notices Judy. If you notice during that scene, which I think is like honestly the way that they filmed during that time period, but if you notice in that scene, Judy's the only one who's wearing a like bright, vibrant red dress with bright red lipstick. Everyone else is in mute color tones, which is which I thought was like really interesting to note, just because they clearly were doing that to make her stand out and show
Yeah.
that she was one of the main characters.
Yeah.
And James Dean's also wearing a red jacket later on in the movie too, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, based on like you're saying, like how they made them stand out. This movie kind of seemed very theatrical
Yeah.
in the way that like it kind of seemed like a drama a little bit, like something you'd
Yeah.
see like on a theater
A lot
stage.
of lines felt like you were watching a play.
Yeah. Also, since you mentioned the colors and the clothes, this
Mhm.
was almost filmed in black and white, and thank God it wasn't because it's probably so classic because of like
Yeah.
you know
The use of
the
the
red
colors.
jacket.
Important.
Yeah. And honestly too, I mean, like to that point, it kind of is like a color black and white movie in a way, because for the most part, every other character is like monotone colored besides the two main characters, which maybe was their compromise to make it colored. You know,
Maybe. Also, by the way, we talk about the movie, so if you haven't seen the movie, make sure you watch the movie before you listen to this podcast. We don't spoil anything.
Go watch it.
go watch it now. I also love the music too, because you can tell just by watching this movie. This is like one of the early films of that. I mean, that we would enjoy. People our age would enjoy still, I would think. And it's really cool to note that if you listen to it, you can totally tell right away. But the soundtrack is all orchestrated, and nowadays there's no really orchestrated soundtracks for movies. It's really just picking the popular songs that are out there, which I think is pretty
John
cool.
Williams is still out there.
True. Yeah,
And
there's some.
Hans Zimmerman, he makes some fire, but that's I don't even know. I think that is orchestra still.
With Hans Zimmerman, you're gonna have to like.
He's done a bunch of famous movies. I'm completely blanking
Okay.
on anything he's done right now, though.
I mean, but there's some. I mean, like
Grr.
the Star Wars soundtrack. That's an orchestra soundtrack. So I mean, there's some that are still like that are like that. But I mean, it's like a common trend, I think. To
But
have
yeah, no,
popular
I feel
songs.
it's definitely like the old movie. Just like you got the symphony score in the whole movie.
Right.
It was really nice.
Yeah, I just gotta say. So were those the police that he was picked up in the police station?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. You're probably gonna go into it, so please do.
Yeah,
but
like right now, if that was these days, he'd probably get a fat fine, go to like community service. But they were like very nice to him, and he was like kind of being a bad person. Not a bad person, but he was kind of being a degenerate. And
he was
cops back
rambunctious.
then were pretty nice, apparently.
Yeah, I also think if we're gonna talk about that too, I mean, we are. The juvenile head of the police department. I don't know if they ever say his name, but I also think it's so interesting how in that scene he's like, if you're ever in trouble or in a bad spot, day or night, come and call me and like talk to me. Without like getting too like deep or whatever, but I don't think that would ever happen today. There wouldn't really be like a conversation between drunk kid and police nowadays. It'd be more so like
Probably
go
be a
spend
better
your
world
night
if it was. The cops
Yeah.
like were kind of,
Yeah, I mean,
working
hey,
with people and not bring them down.
We're all
Probably a little
people.
better.
For real. So I actually had one question too. I question to myself that I like presented to myself while watching the movie. And my question was, what makes him a rebel without a cause? Because so I think that it's funny too, because I think this movie is so timeless because it's a coming of age movie, and definitely you have some dated things that are in the movie and some dated aspects of the way they talk, the way they dress and stuff. When he's going to school, he's all dressed up in his like suit and tie, which I think is pretty cool. But I don't know how he was like a rebel though.
Yeah.
Like I can see how he was like lost and like trying to find his way and didn't really know what was like. He's trying to have his voice
He
heard.
was a
but-
rebel without a cause because his cause was being called a chicken.
Also,
Okay,
also,
yeah, don't call
that's
me
not
a
a
chicken.
good reason at all. Also,
But that's kind of like how it's outdated. Like back then,
Right.
maybe being called a chicken, like you like fighting words when you're 17. Like
Yeah.
also
we gotta drive a car off a cliff right now.
that's the name of the movie. He's a rebel with no cause.
Right.
No, but also actually, I think the deeper meaning was like he was trying to avoid being called a chicken because his dad was kind of a pushover, and he
Mhm.
wanted to avoid being his dad.
Yeah.
And
a
I
lot
think,
of daddy issues in this movie.
yeah, he's very.
Yeah.
Oh, facts.
Him and Plato too had daddy issues.
Plato and what's her name? Judy.
Judy. I mean, Judy too. Yeah.
Big
So
daddy
hold
issues.
up. So I just want to. I'm gonna mention two quick things. So first, I made like this connection. So I said that Plato was in need of a father. That was what or need of a family. Plato was like that was his thing that he wanted. He was like he saw James Dean's character and Judy. So Jim and Judy, he saw them as like their mom and dad. So he was in need of a family. I said that Jim was in need to be heard because he's always like getting talked over, and like his dad never actually gives him the time of the day, or his mom. And I said Judy needs someone to love her and to be loved. And I think that that's really interesting because I feel like those three things, family, the need to be heard, and to be loved, is like the three basic human needs of like any person.
Emotional needs, and also
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like high schoolers and the young kid they're at and they're growing up. They're not like independent emotionally. They kind of need to be dependent on someone.
Right.
So yeah, and also you're talking about Plato a little bit.
Yeah.
Really messed up. Like the first scene they mentioned him, he's like, "Why'd you shoot those dogs?"
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
She shot puppies.
Yeah, why'd you
He
shoot those
shot
puppies?
And I love it too that the juvenile like
was
police officer was like,
disturbed.
He's like, you should see a shrink, but like nothing ends up happening because of it. He's like, yeah, whatever. You know, he sees him in school the next day. He's like, yeah, shoot dogs, no big deal. Just thought that was funny.
Like, not getting too much into it. I mean, it's kind of like throughout the movie, I kind of realized this the more I watched the movie. But like, I'm not a doctor or a psychiatrist, but I think he had like schizophrenia. I think maybe.
You think?
Yeah, maybe because like.
Or like some antisocial.
Yeah, well, we always thought
Per-
something was out to get him.
Antisocial personality disorder. Is that
Well,
what
can
it
you
is?
honestly, like, I'm just like curious. Can you like, expand on that? Because the only scene where I can see like where he would think that someone's out to get him was at the very end. He was very paranoid for sure, obviously for good reason.
I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't want to explain the symptoms. I don't know
No,
anything.
no, no. Like, what part of the scene do you remember?
I
any
just thought
scenes
he
that
was very
stick out?
paranoid about
Okay.
stuff. I feel like
Yeah.
that's a common symptom of people with schizophrenia. We're like
Right.
always
Yeah,
scared of things, and like I feel like he was maybe hearing voices. Like
Okay.
they don't like mention it, but like I feel like he might have been able. You know.
Yeah. No, I can see
But
that.
I'm just speculating. I'm not.
Right.
For
No, I
sure
can see that.
paranoid.
Don't write in and complain that
Yeah,
like, oh, you're
I
not a
don't know
doctor.
if they were trying to
Come on,
pose
guys.
him as schizophrenic, but
He definitely had some mental health issue. I think for sure.
Was that before like, schizophrenia was like
yeah.
I mean, this is way before like psychiatry was. That's not true. Maslow.
No, I mean he even in the movie.
55, they might have
this
just
was-
called it manic still or something.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
and this was
Yeah.
also the time period where
Maybe.
they didn't really respect psychologists.
Just
Like,
like-
he calls him a head shrink in the movie.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
yeah,
I think like if you had a problem back then, they'd probably just call you crazy and like put you in a
the
psych
loony
ward.
bin. Yeah. All right, so I do want to bring up another point going back to those three morals about are the three
The three emotional needs.
three emotional needs. The other point I wanted to bring up to you guys, which I thought was really interesting, really interesting and really cool to note. But it seems as if this movie was super progressive for the times it was made in.
I was gonna say.
Because, which I love the fact that they do this too, because there's like this total switch of gender roles between the Jim's mom and dad, which normally during the 1950s you would not see that at all. I feel like, especially in movies too, is usually like kind of boasting like male like masculinity, you know, and trying to like abide by the stereotypes. And another thing that stood out to me, which I thought was awesome, was towards the end, Plato's caretaker, goes up to his body and is like, "My son," like he was always like, not my son, but she was like, "My boy," like kind of claiming Plato as her own like child,
Yeah.
which I thought was so awesome because where his parents are absent, I don't know, I thought it was cool that they brought that into play.
Going back to the first point you made about the gender role reversal
Mm-hmm.
with the parents, that was progressive, but then like Jim was also kind of like hated his dad because of that.
Fair. But I also will say, too, at the end of the movie, they kind of have a coming together moment when Jim's dad is like, stand up. We'll both stand up together. I'll try to be who you want me to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know that. I know that's like
Yeah,
not
it
like,
ends
it's like pretty
good.
cool. I don't
It
know.
ends good.
I don't
It
think
hit
it's.
deep.
I don't think it's like an old time thing to want your father to like stand up and be tough though. That's like a pretty. I think like we all need like a strong masculine like figure in our life.
Right.
So I think like that was a theme that kind of carries over till today. I think too.
For sure. I want to get your guys' opinion on this. So Buzz, who's the antagonist in the movie for the first part,
Is he the guy in the car?
he's the guy in the car.
Okay.
So I don't know. I thought this was like so interesting. So I want to bring this point up to you guys like over text, but I was like, I'm gonna wait till the podcast. I gotta wait and just like get it out here. But this movie, I don't know. I think it was so amazing to watch because for me, it just like it seemed like a different America. Like nothing that happens in this movie really, I would say, was like something that we would see today. But it was also really cool because of that. And I mentioned that because, first of all, the scene when they're knife fighting is crazy. That would never happen today.
Just jabbing.
Just jabbing. And then also when they're playing chicken or when they're playing chicken with the Cliff, I find it really interesting that Buzz shakes Jim's hand. And like they have a mutual respect for each other, even though it's like bully versus like the kid
Yeah.
who's being bullied.
It's a gentleman's sport.
Yeah, which is so strange. I mean, like I just thought like there's a lot of things that happen that were crazy to me.
Yeah, going off. Yeah, so obviously the movie was like very, like the times were like less PC and like more crazy stuff happened.
Right.
But I noticed that, and I also noticed that a lot of the same social hierarchies like throughout high school movies are kind of the same. Like Rebel Without a Cause, which is 1955. Obviously they had the boys in the car, and then like Dazed and Confused, which came out in like the 90s, it's about the 70s, takes place in the 70s at least.
Right.
Like they have the same like they have, a bunch of bullies driving a car and like beating up like the not the new kid, but yeah, the new kid at the high school.
The
at that point.
freshmen, yeah, they're coming in, yeah.
Also, that also exists in like new movies like Perks of a